Uninspiring centrist refuses to tackle the underlying social problems that led to the rise of the far right. Stagnating living standards create fertile ground for fascism. Far right win election. Far right drives economy off a cliff, lowers standards of public life, and generally makes everything objectively worse, which leads to uninspiring centrist defeats far right with a promise of change, which leads to uninspiring centrist refuses to tackle the underlying social problems that lead to the rise of the far right, and in circle we go until it potentially breaks. And it breaks if only once the far right manages is in a place where the material conditions, meaning like shit is very bad in the country, but it's so bad and their rhetoric is so good, by so good meaning successful, not positive of course, that they actually manage to grow their political power, that they actually manage to inspire so much hatred that it turns into outward political mobilization. Yeah. And this circle goes unlimited up until that breaking point, when capitalism can no longer hold itself up through typical liberal means, what the libs like to call more authoritarian measures are supposed to be instilled. I don't think we're there yet, even though it's decent rhetoric to harp on this shit because it will unite people against the far right more, and it usually pushes them to the left. But this is the classic turnaround, and that is why a lot of people say that neoliberal politics and like the classic death spiral and then reborn, what Marx called, the inevitable crises of capitalism, why some people say that is much more dangerous than like outright fascist stomping guys with funny symbols on their thing with their funny like hats and etc etc. In a weird way, it's a self-sustaining eternal drive that allows capitalism, or the status quo if you want to call it that, to continue arguably indefinitely. But we know that unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who wins, socialism or barbarism, after the point of no return, that eventually this wheel breaks, just like it has broken many times throughout history, not only in capitalism, but in many, 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 many different systems. But until we get to that point, it is just going to be this fight between the centers, the Sotsdem, and of course the far right. Let's just hope that the far right doesn't get into power at the exact time when people are so disappointed with the status quo and have no class consciousness for the far right to actually be able to turn into a reactionary, fully anti-revolutionary movement. Yes, okay. Maybe we'll learn something today.